flower garlands, and sandalwood. Please accept, oh, please accept them, delighter of the heart. In life or in death, I worship you with these offerings, beautiful one, O enchanter of the heart. Come, son of Nanda, and then, O son of Nanda, I will offer your arti ceremony with the lamplight of my love. The waters of the Yamuna river cascade incessantly from my eyes in your separation. O holder of Govardhan Hill, may I pass my life absorbed only in song of your praise, O Krishna Murari, O Shri Krishna Murari. And one day maybe we can play this Janak Maharaj recording. I have about 35 minutes of different recording that I have done. So it's nice. How much he must have, practiced during his life. He just keep on talking about Braj, nothing else. And Govardhan Parvat is his favorite. He will do the parikrama every day mentally. So this is something beautiful. So today we will be reading from Srimana Shiksha, Splendid Instruction to the Mind by Raghunath Das Goswami. And we are on the verse number 7, commentary by Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj. And the topic today, the title is Humility. Okay, someone may have just joined. Okay. So let's dwell in the humility. Even at the level of bhav, the desire for fame may remain. Haribo. This is the very last obstacle that we have to overcome. Srila Prabhupada taught exactly this, that we must be humble. This is a wonderful story about Srila Prabhupada that Tamal Krishna Maharaj loved to tell. At the time, he was the temple commander in the Los Angeles temple on La Cienega Boulevard. Once he brought to Srila Prabhupada's room a large painting that Muralidhar painted depicting the spiritual world. This painting is reproduced on the cover of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It shows the Vaikuntras and the material world where Mahavishnu is lying. When he brought it in, Srila Prabhupada called him and started telling Tamal Krishna, quote, each universe is filled up with unlimited numbers of living entities who inhabit all of the planets and stars. One of these planets is our Earth. And on this planet are many continents. And one continent, that is America. And in America, there are so many big cities. Here is Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, there is a street, La Cienega Boulevard. On this boulevard, among all the building is a temple of Lord Krishna. And in this temple, there is one Tamal Krishna. He is there. And he's thinking that he is very important, unquote. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj has, tell this story to so many times to the devotees that we should have no pride. This is how Srila Prabhupada taught us that this idea of self-important is a complete, absolute illusion. Complete and absolute illusion. That's prideness. The most disgusting is when we try to strengthen this idea in ourselves through spiritual practice. In essence, what we do is we come to Krishna in the robes of a sadhu and try to enjoy his spiritual energy. When we enjoy the material energy, this is half the problem. But the most terrible offense we can commit is when we try to enjoy by means of our spiritual activity. Ramana came to steal Sita wearing the robes of sannyasi. And when Sita invited him to take some refreshment, he said, quote, "No, no, I'm very renounced. I cannot come in. You must come here," unquote. He had already tried to enter, but was prevented. So he made that excuse that he was to renounce. Similarly, we come to Krishna, changing our apparel, wearing tilak, and so on. And we think, good, I'm disguised perfectly. Now I'm going to steal Krishna's internal energy and enjoy it for myself, unquote. This is what is called weakness of the heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his Bhajan Rahasya that there are four manifestations of Hridaya Durlabhyam, or the weak heart that is imprisoned here by the material energy. These are: one, attachment to the thing that are not related to Krishna. And we can analyze our life, how much we are attached. Second, duplicity, hypocrisy. Three, envy of others' progress, which leads to slander when we talk badly of others, humiliate them, or offend them, and desire for fame. So this is how the weak heart is feel imprisoned with this material energy in four different forms. Also again, attachment to the things which has no relations to Krishna, hypocrisy, duplicity, envy, and the last one is desire for fame. These four things give rise to the six enemies. See, this is Acharya is telling that why the lust, anger, greed, and everything come because of this seed. They are making wonderful point here. These things will give rise to the six enemy of the six waves that carry us throughout the material world. The six enemies are Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moh, Mad, and Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, and pride. All other bad qualities arise from there. I think this is leading to, from verse number 7, we are going to verse number 6. And maybe it's hinting toward verse number 5. Let's see. As long as we retain attachment to material thing and pratishtha, the desire for fame, we will never find peace in our life. Hari Bol. Sanatana Goswami goes even further. He says that of everything else, this pratishtha is the root of all other anarthas. In one of the last verses of the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is said, Sarva tyage api aheyaha. Even if a person has renounced everything else, all anarthas can return to him. Why? Because in our mind we come in contact with Pratishta. Haribol. So Sanatana Goswami says that if you don't drive away the desire for fame, you will never be clean, because it is like excrement. Even if we purify ourselves by Achman and all the mudras, if inside there is excrement, we will never be clean. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada calls this pratishta, not just ordinary excrement, but pig's excrement. E-X-C-R-E-M-E-N-T. I hope I'm pronouncing. A pig eats other excrements because they are tasty. But their own excrement, even the pigs do not eat. This is what pratishta is. It is Sukarera Vista, pig's excrement. Haribol. As mentioned earlier, a very important principle is that if there is this one anartha left, then all the other will slowly return. And this anartha, the desire for fame, may be seemingly harmless. It makes us study the scriptures, become very renounced, preach, and perform extraordinary feast in our devotional service. Yet, listen what Kavi Karnapur cites this problem in the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak, where he says, quote, if one thing has remained, all the rest will come back, unquote. The Sanskrit is ek yoga nirdishtanam shahava pravartihi shahava nivrutihi. If one thing out of a great group of things remains, it will attract all the rest. In other words, if one anartha remains, then everything else will come back. We may be following all the regulative principles, but if we still want glory, it invites everything else back again. The principle is very simple. If something contaminates us, our consciousness, our aura, then a channel appears through which all the other contamination can enter there. If someone is immaculately pure, then naturally no contamination will stick to him. Therefore, people do not attach importance to this desire for fame. But as Srila Prabhupada explained in the Gundicha Marjan Lila, if a person's desire for fame remains, one may go into seclusion and be chanting the holy name. 128 rounds, or 104, or 164, or 192 rounds, or 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs will not help. Srila Prabhupada says that the heart of such a person becomes harder and harder because pratishta gives rise to jiva hinsa, violence toward others. So one prominent lesson we should learn, that if we have any bad feelings about anyone, that's not our business. That's Krishna's business. If you want to keep our heart clear, which is very, very difficult. And that's why our Acharya always say, don't involve in a Gramya Katha. So we will embarking on now Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. We are on volume number 4, chapter 6. Jat age Parivrajaka Charya. I think we are in Calcutta, May 13, 1971. Prabhupada arrived just in time for the 10-day Calcutta Pandal festival. On his orders, Giriraj and Tamal Krishna had come to organize the festival, just as they had the one in Bombay. Prabhupada had written to Jayapataka Swami, president of ISKCON Calcutta, as follows. In the Sankirtan festival pandal, if a very big kitchen arrangement can be made, then we shall distribute prasadam daily. Try to make this arrangement. Puri, halwa, khichdi, whatever you can arrange as much as possible. Tamal Krishna and Giriraj have all the ideas. Attendance surpassed that of the Bombay Pandal, with 20 to 30,000 people attending daily, including ministers of parliament and other distinguished speakers. It was one of the biggest religious functions Kolkata had ever seen. The whole city became aware of the strength of the Hare Krishna movement. In the early afternoon, the devotees would begin selling Prabhupada's books from a booth, performing kirtan on stage, and distributing prasadam to the masses. Around 6:30, the evening program would begin with a long, intense kirtan, which would increase in its fervor as Prabhupada arrived for the evening arti before the deity of Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada would lecture sometime in Bengali and sometime in English. Afterward, the devotees would show slide of Krishna consciousness movement around the world, and Prabhupada would answer questions from the audience. After the program, people would push forward to receive a morsel of prasadam that had been offered to the deity. Naxalite terrorists threatened Prabhupada's life. This young communist terrorist, who had been active in Calcutta during Prabhupada's visit of 1970, had never disturbed him until now. Their tactic was to approach prominent businessmen in their homes or on the street and coerce them into cooperation with Naxalite political objectives. If a businessman refused, the Naxalites would burn his home or place of business or even assassinate him. The Naxalites, who were eager for all of the Bengal to turn from their religious traditions and embrace communism, saw Prabhupada rekindling the religious spirit in Calcutta. Prabhupada's tremendous crowd gathering pandal, they concluded, was undermining the principle of communism. Quote, fly or die, unquote. Read the note Prabhupada received. He informed the police, who regretted their inability to help. The whole of Calcutta, they said, was in terror of the Naxalites. Prabhupada, however, refused to be intimidated. He would not fly out. Even if they were to attack him, he said, what better way for a Vaishnava to leave this body than while preaching the glories of the Lord? Haribol. How much faith Prabhupada must have. Unshakable. We can read, but we will never understand unless we put into this situation and see how we act. And this is taste will become in our life. The next night, as Prabhupada came before the crowd to speak, he noticed a group of rowdy young men, Naxalites, I think Nazis or something, I don't know, near the stage. And they were protesting the preferential sitting of certain dignitaries on stage. When one young radical shouted that the radicals themselves wanted to dance on stage, the devotees invited them to join in a kirtan. The Naxalites backed down, but continued shouting and disrupting the meeting. We can learn how Prabhupada acted in a different way. This is so nice to read. They began banging the seats of the wooden folding chairs, calling out Naxalite slogans and threatening to burn the place down. Others in the audience began talking nervously among themselves, increasing the commotion. In a vain attempt to bring order, some of the devotees threatened the dissenters. Pushing and scuffling broke out in the audience. Chintamani prakarashadmashu kalpavruksha lakshavretesu shurabhir abhi palayantam. Prabhupada's voice rang over the powerful loudspeaker system, appearing uninterested in the crowd, depending only on Krishna. He began singing prayer from the Brahma Samhita, and within minutes, everyone quieted. Those who wanted to leave left, and those who wanted to stay sat down. The crowd subdued, and Prabhupada lectured. What a wonderful. Several more fly or die notes came while Prabhupada was speaking. And the Naxalite returned the next night, threatening again to burn the pandal. Call them, Prabhupada said, quote, I will meet with them, unquote. The devotees thought it is unsafe, but Prabhupada insisted. In a small room behind the pandal, Prabhupada spoke with the hostile youth. They were angry and disrespectful at first, but as Prabhupada explained to them the Vedic concept of communism, with Krishna at the center, he caught their interest. They agreed to allow Prabhupada's meeting to continue without any further disruptions. So Achyutanand Swami Maharaj is explaining this situation in his own word as follows. The last night of the 10-day Pandal program was a grand finale with over 40,000 people attending. I had just stepped out to get sugarcane juice The pandal was completely packed when I left. But when I got outside, I saw rivers of people flowing through the four main gates into the pandal tent. I thought this must be Krishna's mystic power because the tent was already packed and still thousands of people were entering into it. I thought that Krishna must be unlimitedly expanding the dimensions of space. The climax of the evening was a big procession, beginning at the Panda and going up Park straight to the ISKCON temple on Albert Road. The deities of Radha Govinda rode on a palanquin to the temple, where they were placed on the altar. After an arti in the temple, the remaining crowd dispersed. Achyutanand Swami was standing next to Prabhupada that night in the Calcutta temple. Prabhupada, he said, someone put Krishna's flute in backward. Prabhupada looked. It was backward. Krishna is all powerful, he said, turning to Achyutanand Swami and said, he can play from the back end also. I think that if he have some devotee may have by mistake put the flute, we will make right away correction. Hey, correct the situation, but Prabhupada has different vision. He can see unlimited Krishna's potency. No limit to Krishna. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada was still striving for a plot of land in Mayapur. Having abandoned the idea that his godbrother in Mayapur might help, he had been working through Bengali friends in negotiating with Muslim farmers in Mayapur. On returning from Australia, Prabhupada had sent Tamal Krishna to Mayapur with orders not to come back until he had purchased land. You know, whatever important instructions, never come back. Tamal Krishna's mission was successful, and after 6 days, he returned to Prabhupada in Calcutta, having purchased 9 vigas, 3 acres in Mayapur. That's where the main temple is standing now. And you know, there is a huge acreage of Mayapur project. And what was the director of the Mayapur, he gave me personal tour. And Prabhuji told me that look at that Shyamsundar, your Guru Maharaj. We were striving to find the location for the new temple because they have so many acreage of land later on. But he told me that the temple is sitting where first Tamal Krishna purchased this land. And he was very commanding, my Guru Maharaj. So conceiving the value of Mayapur was difficult for the devotees. However, one devotee journeyed from Calcutta to see the new ISKCON property, and on returning asked Prabhupada, quote, what are we going to do there? It's just a big empty field. Nothing is there, unquote. Because there are no factories and cars, Prabhupada replied. Therefore, you think there is nothing to do. But we are going to chant Hare Krishna in Mayapur. We will build a big temple there, and all the devotees in the world can go out and chant Hare Krishna in the place of Lord Chaitanya's birth. On May 28, Prabhupada wrote as follows. You will be glad to learn that we have purchased about 5 acres of land in Mayapur, the birthsite of Lord Chaitanya, and we have proposed to hold a nice festival there from Janmashtami day for 2 weeks. And at that time, the foundation stone will be set down. I wish that all our leading disciples come to India at that time. And there are 50 branches, so at least one from each branch should attend the function. So I think as we are reading about the Prabhupada desire to build this wonderful temple in Mayapur, I think we should dwell a little bit in the life of Amrish Prabhu, that he has completely, I think that personally, Prabhupada requested him that as being a big grandson of a big industrialist, please do needful to make sure that my vision become fructify one day. And we have seen for so many years that despite many difficulty, when you want to do some big project, always expect the difficulties and obstacles. But Amrish Prabhu has never deviated and continue to assist to fulfill the prophecy of Srila Prabhupada and our big acharyas. And we know that Amrish Prabhu is in a critical condition nowadays. So I humbly request everyone, please chant extra round for speedy recovery of Amrish Prabhu. What Amrish Prabhu has done, we can never think of. I think Prabhuji must have given, I heard last time was a couple of years ago, he already has given over $45 million or something like that. How can we have the Mayapur temple if Amrish Prabhu was not there? So I think it's our duty to pray sincerely from our heart, cried out to Krishna to protect these great devotees. And also it is nice to see that Divya Mataji also joined, despite her son is not feeling well. She cannot sleep even whole night, but she was joining. And I think I advise her, please take care of the family needs because, some of the husbands are not Krishna conscious and they cannot understand. So we have to be extremely careful not to make them upset or angry. What can be done? We marry them. So we have to fulfill that commitment also. I remember the talk sometime some devotee couple who may have some marriage problems. And because I was the TP, sometime my Guru Maharaj used to tell me to sit with them. So I have the chance to hear directly from the lips of my spiritual master that, you have married your husband. If he's not Krishna conscious, but he has some desire, as a service to Krishna, you fulfill them and pacify them. Because if you can't do it, it will create a havoc in your devotional life. I remember that advice. So we have to be very practical because different situations may come that we have to act not whimsically or as a strong, so that, oh, I'm a strong ISKCON, so I cannot. But I think we have to hear from the acharyas how to deal with those situations. And I think that sacrifice Krishna will loudly accept. So this is something that I think all of us need to remember. Agitating, it says that the things that we need to do, not to put anybody in any anxiety, That is the instructions our Acharya has given. We have no right whatsoever to put someone into anxiety. But how much are we following? That is the key thing. So I think let's do one more good thing is to continue praying for those who has dedicated their life to help Prabhupada mission, and we should remain grateful for those, not to minimize that services. There is what we call that animal, I forgot the name. Hare Krishna. It will not come to my mind, and I cannot share that story. Haribo. Okay, Krishna is always in charge. I think Krishna is giving the indication we should stop here. And before the devotee leaves, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the desk of the lotus feet. Vaishnavas are great, and we should have high respect by offering our prayer. Vanchakalpatarupasya kripa sindhu bhayavacha.